Why did the most advanced luxury car in history end up destroying its own brand? The world was on the edge of major change. The Beatles were playing on the radio. Humanity was just about to take its first steps on the moon, and at the Frankfurt Motor Show, an event unfolded that would forever rewrite the rules of the game. The NSU company rolled out a sedan on stage that left the audience completely spellbound. It lacked a traditional massive grille, and its body lines looked so futuristic that the car seemed to have arrived from another dimension. The drag coefficient was a mere 0.35, a figure unattainable for most competitors for years to come. Panoramic glazing, a spacious interior, all-around disc brakes, and a unique semi-automatic transmission with no clutch pedal. European journalists unanimously awarded it the Car of the Year 1968 title, while top engineers stood up and applauded. This masterpiece was called the NSU Ro 80, but its triumph turned out to be a fatal trap. In just a few years, a car that leapt ahead of its time completely wiped out the brand that created it. To truly grasp the scale of this drama, we need to look behind the scenes of the car's creation and realize how desperate this project was for a relatively small German company from Neckarsulm. In the mid-1960s, NSU was primarily known for its agile, rear-engine Prince subcompacts and successful motorcycles. But company leadership dreamed of breaking into the big leagues, where Mercedes-Benz and Opel reigned supreme. The engineers at NSU decided not to simply copy existing concepts, but to reinvent the luxury sedan from scratch, casting aside all established dogmas of automotive design. The body styling was crafted under the leadership of young and brilliant designer Klaus Luthi, who would later become the chief designer of BMW and pen legendary models like the E30, E32, and E34. Luth worked in close collaboration with aerodynamicist Charles von Fraunhofer. While competitors defined a car's status by how much chrome it wore, the size of its grille, and its tail fins, the NSU team spent hundreds of hours inside the wind tunnel at the University of Stuttgart. A wedge-shaped silhouette with a high rear deck, a low bonnet line, flush-mounted glass, and even concealed rain gutters allowed them to achieve a record-breaking drag coefficient for production sedans, just 0.35. For comparison, most premium cars of that era hovered around 0.45 to 0.50. As a result, the Ro 80 consumed significantly less fuel at speeds over 100 kilometers per hour than its massive rivals, and remained completely unfazed by crosswinds, effortlessly holding its line on the Autobahn. Beneath this revolutionary body lay an equally radical engineering core. The car featured front-wheel drive, a bold experiment for large executive sedans at the time. All-wheel suspension was fully independent, McPherson struts up front, and a complex, expensive semi-independent diagonal link setup in the rear that guaranteed limo-like ride comfort combined with sharp, sporty handling. The braking system also outpaced its era. ATE disc brakes were installed on all four wheels. To reduce unsprung weight, the front inboard discs were mounted right next to the differential by the main transmission casing. Meanwhile, the 3-speed semi-automatic Saxomat transmission completely eliminated the clutch pedal. A simple touch of the gear lever activated a clever system of vacuum actuators and micro switches that instantly and smoothly disengaged the clutch in fractions of a second. Yet the true technological manifesto and soul of the project was the 2-rotor Wankel rotary engine with a displacement of just 995 cubic centimeters. At NSU, they genuinely believed traditional reciprocating piston engines were a thing of the past. The rotary engine had no connecting rods or valves. 2 triangular rotors spun smoothly inside an epitrochoidal housing. Despite its modest displacement, the engine produced a punchy 115 horsepower, instantly responded to the throttle, and revved up to 6,500 revolutions per minute, completely free of vibration or excess noise. At high speeds, the cabin heard only the faint whisper of the wind. When the cover was pulled off the NSU Ro 80 in Frankfurt in September 1967, the automotive world fell silent in shock. Journalists sang its praises, showrooms were flooded with pre-orders, and the jury of the prestigious European Car of the Year award handed the car the top 1968 honor by a massive margin. NSU sold rotary engine patents to giants like General Motors, Nissan, Mazda, and Mercedes-Benz, genuinely believing they were dictating the future of the global automotive industry. Not a single soul at the Neckarsulm plant could imagine that their greatest triumph would spell the total destruction of the company. As soon as the first few thousand cars reached customers and began racking up real mileage on the roads of Germany and Europe, rose-colored glasses shattered against the harsh reality. High-tech engineering theory crashed head-on into the imperfect mass production standards of the 1960s. The Achilles heel of the Wankel rotary marvel turned out to be microscopic yet vital components. Apex seals fitted to the three corners of each triangular rotor. Their job was to maintain a tight, continuous seal against the inner mirror-finished wall of the combustion chamber under centrifugal force and gas pressure. But back in 1967, metallurgy and polymer chemistry simply lacked materials capable of enduring the hellish conditions inside a rotary engine: constant dry friction, uneven heating, and sharp pressure swings. Early apex seals were made of sintered iron, which reacted chemically with exhaust gases and rapidly fractured. The seals wore down into metal dust, scoring the housing walls. Consequently, compression inside the chambers vanished within weeks. The engine grew hard to start, lost power, choked, burned oil by the gallon, and eventually turned into a useless paperweight. For a huge number of cars, the engine failed after a mere 15,000 to 30,000 kilometers. The situation was critically worsened by the target audience's mindset and habits. The Ro 80 was positioned as an expensive business sedan bought by wealthy individuals: doctors, lawyers, architects, and business owners. They paid top dollar expecting a reliable German car on par with a Mercedes-Benz W114, something they could just turn the key and drive for years. But the rotary engine demanded a deep engineering understanding and meticulous care. Short, cold start trips were strictly forbidden. If the engine was started and shut off a couple of minutes later, unburnt fuel would instantly foul the specialized spark plugs. The engine needed to be constantly revved at high speeds on the highway to burn off carbon buildup in the chambers. Owners had to constantly monitor oil levels, which were consumed intentionally to lubricate the apex seals. Average owners had no idea about any of this, continuing to drive the delicate Ro 80 in gentle city stop-and-go traffic, which ultimately sealed the fate of already fragile engines. The crisis struck the company full force. To save face, NSU leadership made a noble yet financially suicidal decision. They replaced failing engines completely free of charge upon first request, often even after the official warranty expired. There were cases where the same car received 3 or 4 engine replacements under warranty within a couple of years. Factory engineers worked feverishly day and night on the fly, changing seal materials, introducing ferro-titanium and carbon apexes, and redesigning the ignition and lubrication schemes. By 1970, the engines had become incomparably more reliable, easily surviving 100,000 kilometers. Yet word of mouth and the press acted faster than the engineers could fix the problems. The reputation of the Ro 80 was shattered. A biting, cruel piece of black humor caught on in Germany. Owners of the NSU Ro 80 meeting on the Autobahn or at traffic lights would silently hold up 1, 2, or 3 fingers out the window, signaling how many engines had already been replaced under warranty in their car. The used car market experienced an unprecedented collapse. Second-hand Ro 80s with smoking or dead engines sold for pennies. The price of a 3-year-old flagship sedan plummeted to the cost of a new set of tires. Desperate owners ripped out the rotary power plants and clumsily welded in conventional 4-cylinder engines from Ford Essex or Audi 100, permanently ruining the car's unique hood aerodynamics. Astronomical costs from endless free engine replacements and plummeting sales drained the company dry. NSU stood on the brink of bankruptcy. In 1969, unable to bear the financial burden, the weakened company was fully acquired by Volkswagen. VW merged NSU with another subsidiary, Auto Union. Out of this alliance emerged a new entity named Audi NSU Auto Union AG, which eventually shortened to the familiar Audi. Production of the Ro 80 limped along out of respect for its design until April 1977, reaching a modest total of just 37,398 units. After the model was discontinued, the NSU name was permanently retired, and the historic Neckarsulm plant was repurposed to manufacture successful Audi 100 and Audi 80 models. The NSU brand ceased to exist. The story of the NSU Ro 80 entered global economics, marketing, and automotive textbooks as a monumental tragedy of engineering foresight. This car perished not due to blueprint errors or a lack of talent among its creators, but as a result of a fateful collision between ahead-of-its-time ideas and technological immaturity. The main reasons for this historic collapse boil down to a few uncompromising takeaways. Premature introduction of raw technology. The company rushed a radically new, immensely complex engine type into mass production before materials, science, chemistry, and manufacturing tolerances had matured enough to make it durable and robust in everyday use. A fatal marketing and positioning error. A sophisticated engineering experiment requiring specialized maintenance culture was marketed to a conservative executive audience as an ordinary, hassle-free daily driver. Reputational knockout from warranty chaos, high early failure rates, public ridicule, and a ruined resale market destroyed public trust faster than the factory could troubleshoot and modernize the components. The financial vulnerability of a small automaker. Unlike giants like General Motors or Toyota, who could afford to absorb R&D losses from dead-end experiments in closed labs for years, independent and relatively small NSU simply lacked the financial cushion to survive massive warranty payouts. The NSU Ro 80 proved to the world that being first is not only a great honor, but a deadly risk. Today, car collectors gladly pay tens of thousands for surviving Ro 80s, admiring Klaus Luther's clean bodylines and the unique hum of the Wankel motor. But that triumph arrived half a century too late, and the bitter lesson remains unchanged. Innovations must serve people and fit organically into reality, rather than trying to leap across a chasm where bridges have yet to be built. Did you enjoy the story? Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Was it worth it for the company to risk everything for the rotary engine, or should they have stayed conservative?